Hi, I'm Theresa Mather. You've probably seen my artwork at Convergence art shows over the years, and maybe at some other cons as well. Most years I ship my art to the con, so I'm not there in person, but I'm there in spirit. But since this year is not like most years, I have the opportunity to talk a bit about my work and inspirations from my home in southern Utah. I have always loved fantasy and science fiction in written form as well as in media. Mythology, King Arthur, H.G. Wells, Star Trek, Tolkien, and Star Wars were big childhood favorites. Some of these influences, combined with my love of classic Golden Age book illustration, art history, medieval illumination, and classic carousel art, have made their way into my work in one way or another. My professional work includes new suites of paintings to decorate the tops and middles of antique carousels, including one currently operating in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and the one in Seaport Village in San Diego next to the convention center where San Diego Comic-Con is held. Since I used to live in Southern California many moons ago, San Diego Comic-Con is technically my original home con, and I volunteered for years in the art show there as well as displayed my work. But I really love the more personal experiences at smaller cons as well. One day, I hope to experience Convergence in person. I'm going to show some of my art, starting with Forest Haven. I enjoy creating environments for my creatures, as well as creating the creatures themselves. This city in a tree is inspired by my love of Tudor architecture. There's a stairway to every level, there's a marketplace, a water cistern, and a little elevator way in the back in case you don't want to climb all those stairs. No one needs a stairmaster in a city like this. The higher you go in the tree, the higher the rent because of the view. The acrylic original for this piece measures 16 by 20 inches, so it was a lot of work with a lot of tiny brushes. But even this did not get the treehouse theme out of my system, and occasionally I paint a version on a slab of stone. Sephila Pirates features some not-so-fantastical creatures presented in a fantastical way. The octopus and cuttlefish have found a sunken pirate ship and have decided to take up pirating themselves. They already have a pretty good treasure. I don't think they're much threat unless you happen to fall into the water, but they're surely working on how to be proper marauders. This is an acrylic piece which measures about 7 by 9 inches. Astronomy Is Fun is a recent piece inspired by the quest to see comets. These little dragons have been featured in several other pieces, both in libraries and making a mess in a cake shop. Now the dragons are on to stargazing. They had several false starts when comets they were looking forward to disappointingly broke up. Although this was painted before Neowise put on its show, that is surely the comet they ended up seeing. Maybe. They may have just seen the little disco ball ornament being held by one of their number. This is a small acrylic painting. On to Race Through the Clouds. The title comes from an early 20th century roller coaster at a West Coast amusement pier. Many early amusement parks and piers, such as those at Coney Island in New York around that time, had attractions and rides inspired by early science fiction. You could buy a ticket to the moon via aeroplane. A mock airship would take you over models of the city and to a fantasy version of the moon where you could buy souvenirs from the moon people and try samples of green cheese. Captive flying machines designed by Sir Hiram Maxim, inventor of the Maxim gun, after his efforts to build a steam-powered airplane, took passengers on flights before real airplanes successfully achieved controlled flight. The unlikely airships in this piece are inspired by rides like these, fairground art, and early air shows. You can be sure that this race is at a very slow speed, but it's exciting nonetheless. The piece is meant to look like a relic of that time, maybe an advertising piece for an airship attraction. The last recent piece on traditional media that I'm going to show is Good to be the King. This griffin has found a convenient throne to recline on while enjoying a good read. It might be his throne. There is a griffin carved on the back, but maybe he's just claimed it for his own use on that basis. We can't really be entirely sure. What is clear is that he's comfortably reading and no one has tried to stop him yet. This painting is also in acrylic. There is a limited edition of prints of this piece and the previous ones. Now on to pieces on stone slabs and on feathers. I enjoy painting on non-traditional media. Each stone or feather comes with its own shape and challenges. Most of my recent work has been of this type. I have been offering them on my Facebook art page instead of sending them to convention art shows since March, when the last con I showed at was held. The first stone piece is called Fire Seekers. It's a very large piece on obsidian. The stone is an orange shade called pumpkin obsidian. The subject is inspired by the volcanic origin of the rock. Each fiery dragon carries a dichroic glass piece that resembles an ember. They're at home among the volcanoes. A stone slab this heavy has to be mounted on panel to support it. I matted it in a way to offset the shape of the stone for framing. Since I see presentation as an extension of the pieces, I mat the originals, although my husband Barry mats all the prints. Next up is Altai Guardians, a piece in acrylic on turkey feathers. It's inspired by the Altai Mountains where snow leopards live, with misty silvery colors and a dragon to match. I love cats and big cats and live to serve my cats, at least according to them. One of mine thinks that he's a lion. He's a big Maine Coon mix, and he struts and tries to roar as if he's even bigger. He even does tricks. I don't imagine this regal snow leopard would deign to do any tricks. Egyptian cat is probably how my cats secretly might see themselves, if they weren't so silly. I can't see sacred cats acting silly, but a cat is a cat is a cat after all. Still, even silly cats have their regal moments. My love of Egyptian art probably stems from having seen the King Tutankhamun exhibit in Los Angeles in the 1970s as a kid. This is a small piece, again on a turkey feather. A recent piece on stone is Ametrine Dragonflies. The colors of these little butterfly-winged dragons are inspired by ametrine, a stone that is a mixture of amethyst and citrine, both forms of quartz, so they're sometimes found together. These little dragonflies are in a flurry. On the finished piece, each is made away with an appropriate piece of treasure: citrine, amethyst, and one yellow sapphire. This final recent piece is called Chocolate, Strawberry, Peach, Vanilla, Banana, Pistachio, Peppermint, Lemon, Orange, Butterscotch Ice Cream Cone. It's a tribute to a 1971 Sesame Street sketch featuring Ernie and the Ice Cream Man. I was pretty young when it came out, so I thought that being an adult would include looking forward to ice cream cones where you didn't have to make any decisions because you could have all the flavors. As an adult, I understand the impossible logistics that prevent me from ever trying to eat such a cone. But a dragon doesn't have those issues. It's lick, 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 chomp, and it's all good. Probably a little more humor than usual has been necessary in some of my pieces. These aren't exactly the most easy or rational times, and humor definitely helps. In addition to painting, since I'm not traveling, I have been taking the opportunity to vegetable garden, which I normally can't do because leaving plants in the summer heat without proper attention doesn't work. So far, I have a bumper crop of zucchini, and have tried many recipes including them. There are cucumbers, pumpkins, tomatoes, carrots, radishes, tomatillos, butternut squash, and cantaloupes as well. I've been working on my cooking skills, bread making, and trying new recipes from around the world. Keeping busy is important. If you'd like to see more of my art, my website is at rockfeatherscissors.com. My online shop featuring prints, originals, t-shirts, mouse pads, magnets, bookmarks, note cards, pendants, and more is at teresamatherfantasyshop.com. And my Facebook art page is Theresa Mather Fantasy Art. Thank you for watching my presentation and enjoy the online con.